Alright, welcome everybody to our first episode of Planeswalker's Moshpit. I'm Fox as always, and joining me for the first time, the beautiful, James Herholtz.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going? Ready to talk about some Magic?
Oh yeah, always.
Alright, so talking about Dragon's Maze. Comes out the 3rd, 4th?
The third.
The 3rd, and I understand you've been to the pre-releases and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there's three pre-release events this weekend, and I went to all three, of course.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's jump right into it. Do you wanna talk about the whole Dragon's Maze thing? What's going on with the maze?
Yeah. So for Dragon's Maze in the story, for as little as I know, Niv has made this maze, and every guild has a champion, and they have to pick the champion to run the maze. And I'm not sure why. That I'm fuzzy about, but I know that Niv built the maze. He's been spending all this time in Ravnica building this maze. So, but yeah, it's definitely Dragon Maze is like the rounding out set of the Return to Ravnica block. Being the Return to Ravnica, Gate Crash, and now Dragon's Maze. So this block has been officially rounded out. There's plenty of cards that really will help kind of finish these decks, like answers to the other broken cards that they put out. And we'll get to that in a moment.
Yep, I was going to say, do you just want to dive right ahead into the cards?
Sure, let's do it.
Alright, so here's the first set of cards. It's Advent of the Worm and Ral Zarek. Alrighty,
so let's talk about Ral Zarek first, because I know he's been on a lot of people's minds. Ral Zarek, the last Planeswalker of this set, and finally, Izzet gets a Planeswalker. What's a little shady about Ral Zarek and Izzet in general is their whole chance deal. They're all about chance, flipping coins, and as you notice, his ultimate, -7, is you flip 5 coins, take an extra turn after this one for each coin that comes up heads. Now, odds are, you're gonna flip at least one heads, and in a control deck, you get an extra turn, you have another chance to draw a card, you have another chance to play Thing twice, you have another chance to put a D-sphere down on something. You basically are able to do more and give yourself more time, which is all control decks are looking for. So Ral Zarek paired up with Jace, Architect of Thought, no question, hands down, a great combination. He'll see a lot of play in Standard. He's got a tap, which is not as good as Tamiyo's tap, his +1. I mean, you do tap, so it could be a play, like if you're playing American mid-range deck, which I play. You have Aurelia on the field, and you're like, well, that creature could kill my Aurelia, but +1. Tap, swing, you just did 6 damage. You can also Lightning Bolt that player, or the creature, so it's kind of like he's got an answer for everything. He's what Izzet is supposed to be in a nutshell.
Nice, and I know he's kind of overshadowing this other card, but
Advent of the Worm. This is a great card. I love Advent of the Worm. I play Selesnya. I play Junk deck as well. That's my main deck, and I play Armada Worm already, which is a 6-drop for a 5/5 worm with trample that also puts down a 5/5 worm with trample. So it's a 6-drop for 2 5/5s with trample. All right. Now this is an instant for a 4-drop for a 5/5 with trample. Basically, you are tapped out, or not tapped out, but you have 4 mana left, and you can't play anything else. Your opponent taps out if you're not playing a control deck, or even if you are playing a control deck, they're tapped out. You just instant a 5/5 one with trample, or they're swinging at you with like a 2 or a 3 or even a 4, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to throw down a 5/5 with trample. What? You didn't see that coming.
What you gonna do?
Pretty much, and Advent is great for that, like a little surprise worm attack. And I'll definitely be running him. I've already, ran him. I have 2 of them. My friend pulled a holo. I traded for it. So it's, it's a good card. It's definitely a good card. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it is an instant. As funny as that is because I like creatures that do the effect like Armada Worm, which is why I would favor Armada Worm over him, because I can Resto Angel on Armada Worm, which if anyone else who is familiar with Resto Angel will exile. It exiles a card, and then it brings it back immediately. So basically, any enter the battlefield effects on said card are now redone. So Armada Worm will then populate again and give me another 5/5. So that's why I kind of favor that. Same with Thragtusk and stuff like that. So.
All right. Well, moving on. Next two cards are Masters of Cruelties and Exava Rakdos Blood Witch.
Okay, Masters of Cruelties and Exava. Well, not much to say about these cards. Masters of Cruelties, Rakdos, he's got First Strike and Death Touch, but can only attack alone. So, but when he attacks, and it isn't blocked, that player's life total becomes 1, but then he deals no damage. So basically you have to attack with another creature, and that same right to finish the game. But you actually would have to do it next turn because all combat resolves at the same time.
Right.
So what's great about him is he has First Strike and Death Touch, so he basically will never die unless you remove him or counter him. But it sucks because he has to attack alone. Mm-hmm. I think he'll see some play as a little combat trick, but probably not a lot. Exava, on the other hand, on also Rakdos, people who play all Unleashed, which I know some people do, we'll probably see a little bit of her because, I mean, you tap out 4 and then the next couple turns you throw down some pretty big creatures that have Unleashed and you swing, and that's kind of nasty around turn 5 or 6. You got a bunch of stuff swinging at you that's Unleashed, so.
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead and move on to the next cards.
All right, Tristania Summoner and Varal's the Scar Stripped.
So, Tristania Summoner. I'm pretty excited about Tristania Summoner because it's a 7-drop for 10 power. Tristania Summoner is a 1/1 herself, and you put a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance on the field, and a 3/3 Green Centaur, and a 4/4 Rhino with Trample. So you're putting all of these cards on the field. Now what's great about that is that you're putting 4 different creatures on the field, so it can't be D-sphered. It can't be the target of a D-sphere, which would be the downfall of anything that, like, Entreat the Angels, which puts out X 4/4 angel tokens. So 1 D-sphere gets rid of all your angel tokens no matter what. So with this, it's giving you that against control, and also it's in true Selesnya fashion. It's great for mana. You're putting a 10 power out for 7. Selesnya also has Locks and Smiter, a 3-drop for 4. Call the Conclave, a 2-drop for 3. It's just kind of going with that whole flavor of Selesnya. And now, what I want to do with this is I want to run Tristani, Selesnya's Voice, Tristani Summoner, and Rock's Faithmender. And then I want to Resto Angel. Tristani. So now I just gained from Tristani, put Tristani Summoner down. I gained 20 life. Then I Resto Angel it, and I gain 20 more. So I just gained 40 life, plus 6, so 46 life. And it's pretty gross. And yeah, that's correct. You definitely don't want to D-sphere it anyway. It would re-enter and put more tokens out. That's a bad call. So basically, the only way you can really get rid of it is to combat damage, verdict, field wipes, or counter. And let's talk about Varal's a little bit. Varal's is cool. He is Golgari's champion. I probably won't play him, but I think he'll see some play. Especially in decks that are sitting there milling themselves out with Grizzly Savage, rights decks that are trying to bring stuff back, because you just keep on +1/+1/+1 counter and make this guy huge. The only thing about that is, he's vulnerable to, of course, more control, and people are starting to play a lot more control, especially Esper control, American mid-range. It's definitely there. But he's cool. I think he'll see some play. Not my favorite personally.
Alright, so moving on to the next two, Council of the Absolute and Mirko Vosk, Mind Drinker. I know you're talking a bit about Vosk.
Yeah, I like Mirko Vosk. I think he's cool. He's a 2/4 for a 5-drop, so a little heavy, but he's got flying, and his effect is very neat. He's basically like a Mind Grind for 4. You have whenever you deal combat damage, which, I mean, unless they can't block it with flying, because it's flying, they mill until they reveal 4 land cards. And that could be very dangerous. If you're attacking every turn and they don't have any answer, you could easily mill them out. Because, you know, as most people only play with 24 cards. So, or 24 lands, sorry. So, I mean, he's definitely something to focus on. To me, he's for a 5-drop. There are a lot of other 5-drops that I would probably throw in there over Mirko Vosk. For instance, I think Blood Baron, we'll be talking about soon, is a better 5-drop. I think he's 5-drop, might be a 6-drop, but I think it's better. It's better win con. But that, you know, paired up with something like Mind Grind would be pretty devastating. You only have to attack a couple of times, and leaving you not to tap as much mana for Mind Grind to, you know, completely just mill them out by a couple of turns. And that's the thing that about milling is, like, takes so long that people don't mill anymore. You know, there's so many other cards in Modern that mill faster than what's going on in Standard. They're kind of like giving Dimir the shaft a little bit with that, because that's their main flavor is milling. So, but moving on to Council of the Absolute, you know, Council of the Absolute is basically Slaughter Games for Azorius. Except it's cool because you can name a card that you have too, and you can cast that card for 2 less. So it's definitely, I definitely think Council will see play in standard control decks, Esper or mid-range, American mid-range. So, I mean, it's a good card. If not main deck, sideboard.
Seems like it's very versatile as well. Okay, so moving on to the next 2, the Voice of Resurgence and Progenitor Mimic. Is that how you say it?
Progenitor Mimic, yeah. Okay, let's go straight to Voice, because this card is the hype of Dragon's Maze. This is aka Stag Tusk. If you look at it, it is a stag, and it's basically the same effect as Thrag Tusk, but better. So, Voice of the Resurgence, highest card right now as far as price. Most sought after card. People pull that card and it's instantly something to trade. You know, everyone was like, "Hey, got a voice, got a voice, got a voice," all during the pre-release. You know, I bought a booster box, which is 36 boosters. Comes with a promo card, and I have to wait till the 3rd. So the night of the 3rd, or the morning of the 3rd, so 12 a.m. to open it, and I'm waiting to get a voice. I already have 1. I need 4. I need to place it at 4. Let's talk about the card a little bit. Voice. What Voice effectively does is gives Selesnya, or anyone who runs green-white, a way to kind of go against control. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, so any instance, or when it dies, you put a elemental on the field that says its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. That is just gross, especially if you already have, Garruk or Sorin or something like that on the field that's generating you tokens. That is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it makes them not want to field wipe you. They're going to field wipe you, and then you instantly have something else to attack with them, especially if you're running more than one. Unless they have a D-Sphere right after they Supreme Verdict, then it's like, okay, well, I really don't want to Verdict you at all. And that's huge for Selesnya, especially, knowing my deck. I mean, it's going to see a lot of play. That's the card I'm most certain is going to see a lot of play. Now, Progenitor Mimic. This card will also see play, especially for Cynics. It's a 6-drop, so it's a little expensive, but its effect is pretty insane. When it enters battlefield, as a copy of any creature, except that it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. This creature isn't a token. You put a copy of that creature on the battlefield. That, of course, is a token. So if they have something out like a Boros Reckoner or Lord of the Void or Grizzlebrand or something huge, and you're like, well, all right, cool. I'll just mimic that, and then I'll make another one, and another one, and another one. So it's like, what are they going to do against it? Because they only have one. Definitely a card that'll see a lot of play. Definitely a card that you got to focus on, or else you'll be in trouble quick. The only thing is that they have to have something big on the field for it to really, really, really work. I mean, it'll work because it is a 6-drop. Odds are they're going to have something. But if you're playing against control deck, No, not going to do anything because control decks hardly put any creatures out on the field until later. It could be a saving grace against control decks, but then again, they could just have that untapped mana because they already played their big creature and then counter. So I think it'll see play. Do I think it's the best card? No.
Alright, so moving on to the next two. We got Blood Baron of Vizkopa and Pyro Wild Shaman.
Alrighty, both these cards are great. Excellent cards that I think will see a lot of play. Blood Baron is Orzhov, lifelink, protection from white and black. That's already huge. And then his effect, as long as you have 30 or more life and an opponent has 10 or less, it gets 6/6 and flying. So that's a win con. They have 30, you have 30, they have 10, you instantly become a 10/10 flyer and you swing. If they have nothing that can block flying, that's game. So, huge card. Protection from white and black gives you protection from some removal spells, which is great. And creatures who also share white and black, lifelink gains you that life while you're swinging every time. So they're losing life, you're gaining life. Plus with Extort for Orzhov, that's the whole point. That card will see a lot of play. I definitely know it'll see a lot of play. I already know people who want that card. It's also running pretty high too, so the hype for it is pretty high as far as money goes. And Pyrowild Shaman, also a very good card because you have an infinite blood rush. Every time you deal combat damage, you get to pay 3 and give it back to your hand. Then you pay 2 and you blood rush it for 3/1. You're going to deal that much damage every turn if you can keep up the consistency, and that's the whole point of an aggro deck. So you would have that much mana. You would have that much mana eventually. You would pay 2, and then the next turn you have 3. That's all you need to do. So you put a 1-drop on there, like Rakdos Cackler, it's a 1/1, and alright, cool, Madcap skills next turn. Okay, Blood Rush. You just swung for 10. Well, maybe not 10, 6. Okay, so 9. That can't be blocked by 2 or more people. I mean, that's gross. Really gross. Then you get it back and you Blood Rush it again. Super gross. Definitely 4 people. That's going to be run in a lot of aggro decks. Boros, Rakdos, combination of the two. Even people who just want Blood Rush for MA run red. I mean, it's good.
It's good. Alright, moving on to Etherling and Reap Intellect.
Okay, Aetherling. Wow. People don't look at this card the right way. And I'll tell you why. This card is the ultimate in versatility for control decks. Yes, it costs 6, but because it costs 6 and all of its effects cost mana, you already have all that mana. So basically, you can pay. What you can do is you would be able to pay. You could pay 5, and no, you can pay 4, and make it an 8/1, and then you can make it pay 1 blue. You make it unblockable. Swing for 8. Okay. Oh, then they're gonna play a card to get rid of it. D-Sphere, Verdict. No, pay 1, exile it. It doesn't die, and it's a blocker or an attacker. You can do anything you want, and that's what control decks need. Definitely going to see a lot of play. Maybe not right now because people aren't realizing what it can do, but it will see play very soon. And I traded one of mine, and I'm kind of disappointed, but I did get an Advent of the Worm, so I'm okay with that. Now, Reap Intellect. Reap Intellect, this card, I'm iffy on this card because basically, no, this is the Slaughter Games for Dimir. This is the Slaughter Games for Dimir. And, Slaughter Games is still way better. Can't be countered. That's huge. But this one, you can search their entire library and their graveyard and their hand for cards. The thing is they have to have that card in their hand. And I think that's what kind of makes it the downfall. But, I mean, you could stop one of their combos right in their tracks. Like, if you get lucky and, someone's running 4 Garuks and you know that they got a Garuk in their hand because you did maybe Appetite for Brains the thing before, you're like, all right, Garuk. And then you just get rid of all the Garuks. Or, you're running against control deck, Sphinx's Revelation. There goes your Sphinxes. Or just big creatures. It's a card I think will definitely see play in sideboards. A lot of sideboards.
All right, and the last 2 cards we have is Legion's Initiative and Amara Tandris.
All right, as a Selesnya player, I'm very disappointed with Amara. All she needed to say was prevent creature tokens are indestructible, not prevent all damage. Because Supreme Verdict. Supreme Verdict still destroys all your tokens, along with, you know, of course, Azorius Charms and things of that nature. Um, but she's still good. She's really good in sealed. 'Cause she's a 7 drop for a 5/7. Not bad. I won't ever run her, never. But I figured we'd talk about her, just kind of let people know.
Yeah,
Some people might run her.
I was about to say, isn't she technically your guild leader?
She is, and I mean, like I said, I'm very disappointed. But I can't be that disappointed because I got a voice out of this set. So, I mean, a way to combat control decks, which you know, is huge for me. So, Legion's Initiative, another way to combat control decks, but for Boros. This is great because it's a pump, and also it's a way to sidestep field wipes. The only thing that sucks about this is you pay 2 mana to put it on the field, and you have to have 2 mana to be able to exile it. So once you do this, it's gone, and you exile all creatures you control, and at the beginning of next combat, they come back. But I mean, it's gone, so you can't do it again. So most control decks who are running against aggro definitely run more than one field wipe. So unless you want to run more than one, you know, which is dangerous in an aggro deck, because all you want to do is get creatures on the field. You want to attack. You want to get them down as quickly as possible, and this is slowing you down. So Legion's Initiative is iffy. I think it'll see play just because it's also a pump. So it kind of gives you, you know, a little bit of this. Plus, red creatures and white creatures, anything that is multicolored, will get both. So they get a +1/+1. You know, and you can also put multiple ones in the field. It is a mythic, but it's not, you know, a legendary. So the legendary rule doesn't apply. So yeah, I think it'll see play. I don't think it'll be in everyone's deck, though.
Alright, so those are the main cards that we wanted to go over. Do you want to talk about possibly how people are reacting to the new cards and stuff like that? Like, what are the big things? Because I notice you're talking a lot about certain types of decks and stuff like that. Is there anything that's going to change drastically with the new rules?
I think that control decks kind of got a little bit of a backlash in this set. I think that, I mean, everything will kind of just stay the same. You'll probably see a lot more Selesnya players or green and white because of voice. Maybe a drop in control, you know. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, this deck was small. This set was small, and it's really just a round out. So people are going to get cards that are going to be cards to combat other cards, like Turn and Burn. Turn and Burn is the answer to Thragtusk. You turn it into a 0/0 weird that loses all of its abilities, and then you burn it, and so it's dead. All right, I'm sorry, it's a 0/1 red weird. But the fact is that Thragtusk loses its ability, so you do not get that 3/3 drop as soon as it dies. And you're going to pay 5 to do that. Totally worth. I mean, what's cool about this set is that, I mean, they also brought the dual cards back. Some of them are cool, some of them are terrible, really expensive. You know, one half is way better than the other. But you know, I don't think it's going to affect standard all that much. I think once some of these things rotate, you know, it's like the answers for the other cards, and those cards rotate. You know, then it's like, all right, well, what are these going to be used for now? You know, I don't see a lot of these. I see a couple of these being used in Modern and EDH, but definitely not affecting Standard all that much.
Alright, so we're running on to 25 minutes, which I think is a good time, so I just want to make a couple of statements right now. First off is Dice Troop runs everything on donations. If you go onto our Tumblr at the bottom of the page, there's a donate button. Donate $1, donate $5, donate 10, anything would greatly be appreciated. A lot of us put a lot of time and some money into this, and it would be great if you could help us out a bit. We'll still always run the shows for free, as always, but anything is greatly appreciated. Also, this is our first episode, and of course, always looking for feedback. James, you were talking about maybe even making this a weekly show. Do you think you could possibly make it weekly or bi-weekly?
Maybe bi-weekly. It's definitely going to be harder because sets don't come out as often, as other things do, other games. So, but I mean, I definitely can have other conversations with other people, bring other people on, talk about Modern, talk about EDH, talk about the story. Just talk about how the tournaments are going, what meta decks are going on right now, things like that, and that updates weekly. So it could definitely possibly happen. And I mean, I had a blast. So yeah, I think I'd love to.
All right, that sounds pretty awesome. So yep, that will conclude our first episode of Planeswalker's Moshpit. Sean, if you're actually interested in helping us out, you should send me a message, or send the Facebook group a message, and we can talk about it, because I would like to get more stuff on Dice Troop, honestly. So that'll be our first episode. So as always, I'm Fox, and that's James Buttholes. So we'll see you possibly in the next 2 weeks.
Take it easy.